Altenberg in Germany, the venue for the 2021 BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Championships. And the first weekend of snowy action comes to a conclusion with the final two heats to decide the fate of the Max Huben Trophy, awarded to the two-man bobsleigh champion every season. Hello everybody, welcome back as we get ready for the third of our four heats. Martin Haven and John Morgan. Looking forward, John, to another fantastic race.
Well, on the track, we say it's too tough to tame, and we have seen that, Martin, in the women's bob competition and the men's, and it's a long start up here. You have to run longer here than any place on the planet except La Plagne-France. Cripps and Kopax have the track record. Kopax is not in the competition. I don't know if we'll see that track record broke, but it was close yesterday. Omega, what a challenge coming out of here. You can't hit that little wall on the left. Little labyrinth combination here. Some people tapping on the right. Still allowing the sled to accelerate out of this big sweeping Harold Schodai curve, named after the '94 Olympic Games gold medalist for Germany. And now the Kreisel. Wow. You sweep out of here. 11-12. Don't sleep down here on the bottom part of this track. 13, big sweeping left. 14, now you exit uphill. The section of the track I call the graveyard of time. Now we're getting near the 80+ mile-an-hour speeds onto the bottom, through and down. Martin, there's action for the athletes, the drivers, all over this track. This is not what we saw in Innsbruck last week.
This is a very technical driver's track. Francesco Friedrich, the hometown hero, leads here from his teammate Johannes Lochner. And then with the Swiss behind, Michael Vogt is in third place. Junior world champion Hans-Peter Honighofer in fourth, ahead of Simon Friedli. Now, the rest of the field will follow. All the sleds go in the third heat, but the field is cut to the fastest 20 only for the final heat. So Lamindine in 18th place, in 19th place Mihai Tentea, and 20th Alexei Stulnev, all potentially in trouble if they make an error. Well, there is Francesco Friedrich on the right, Alexander Schuller on the left. They're the men who lead the competition. Talked to Francesco last night and he said, John, if the weather is a few degrees colder today, and it is, he said, we can get the start record. They were 100th away in their first push yesterday. 5:11 could be going down. And Friedrich also said, if there's no snow, we want to get a new track record. He reckons they can set a 54.99. 55 flat is the track record as he left it when he walked away from the track at the end of last year's Worlds. So we go in order of our current ranking. The leader goes first. He'll get the freshest ice, the best chance to use that. But of course, he'll also be the guinea pig, the crash test dummy. He will be the man who shows everybody else just how different today's ice is, because there is no snow. Francesco Friedrich and Alexander Schuller, the World Championship leaders, get our second and deciding day underway for Germany. He's got a handsome lead. Can he add to it here?
14. 300ths off that track record, 100th off and 200ths off what they did yesterday. He's the rabbit. He's got the best ice to work with. He's won 15 of 16 races so far this year. And yesterday, if it was a World Cup, it would have been 16 out of 17, Martin. He's on his home track. I think everything here in front of us is going to speak for itself. Little check
and
there.
John, we're looking at potentially huge history in the making. He's just, this season, eclipsed everybody in terms of World Cup wins. And now we're looking at World Championship wins to pass the great Eugenio Monti.
I was at the 1961 World Bobsled Championships as a very young boy, 54-64. I saw Monty win double gold. Martin, that's better than his first heat yesterday, but not as fast as his second heat. So we're still 6/10 off that track record. But, you know, what he's going to do here today with one more run, he will put himself as the greatest of all time, no questions asked. And I think anybody in the sport, from my generation, from my father's generation, when you look at what he's done, It's been unbelievable. And he's done it like Monty. Monty was known as a great sportsman. This guy here, he's the best friend with the best athlete and the worst athlete on the tour, and very humble in everything he's done, Martin. We're one heat away from him being the greatest of all time.
And there were still mistakes there. You saw a couple of taps down the straight, out of curve 9, little skids. So he is human, he is not perfect. Johannes Lochner next up with Eric Franke. And Lochner's been shaking his head after each of the first 2 runs. John, he gives this away in the first few corners. Before he gets to Omega, he's lost the time of the start.
Well, put yourself in his position. I mean, he's got to deal with Friedrich. He beat him once this year. He's the only guy to beat Friedrich. Ooh, that's not very good angle. Look at the velocity. Okay, he doesn't have the good velocity, but this is a drift there. Not too bad. But just put yourself in his position. Without Friedrich, he's the best guy in the world. Look at his results this year. I mean, you know, so he can't look at that big gorilla in front of him. He just got to go out and do his job. And Martin, usually he does not have a very good second heat. Usually falls off of his first heat. Yesterday he reversed that. 3rd best time in the first heat, 2nd best time in the second heat. That was late there. He's a 2nd and 3/10 behind his teammate. You go a 2nd, 3/10 from 2nd to 15th. I mean, the variance, it's unbelievable what a different planet he's on. A 55.24. Very respectable. That's the best time he's posted yet in the 3 heats that he's come down the track. So,
and yet it's still 6/10 slower than Friedrich on this run. Friedrich is absolutely in a different world, isn't he? But at least there was no tap before corner 4 this time. Late here off 9.
You know, yeah, you know, we saw Friedrich drift a little bit, check the runners, but let's check out the lines here. There's Johannes in the back. Friedrich, I mean, this looks pretty the same, but it looks like Lochner comes down a little bit more, comes up a little bit more. Well, how do you criticize that guy who's, I mean, that might be the 2nd fastest time of the run right there, and we're criticizing him. But this is the big run right here, Martin. This is a big run right here.
Well, Michael Vogt, 2nd fastest in the first heat, 4th fastest in the second heat. That allowed Hansi Lochner to get by him, but he is only 500ths behind Silver. And this is a man who's in his 3rd season as a bobsledder.
The World Championships were here in 91, 2000, 2008. Last year, the Swiss haven't won a medal in 2-man bobsled since Christian Wright in 2000, and this young athlete here's got a chance. Martin, he usually does better in the 2nd run of the day than the 1st run, but yesterday he reversed that. So he's got to put himself in here to challenge not only Lochner, but the next German sled coming up is right on his heels. Big run for this young athlete.
Yeah, and he's not familiar with being a podium finisher all the time. He's had a couple of finishes, but think of the pressure. How did he sleep last night? Is he just taking it like another day? Or does he realize this is a World Championship medal he's contesting here?
He's falling away, though. He's falling back a Lochner. 55.43. Martin, that's not as good as his first run yesterday. Remember, Lochner had the fastest run of his 3 heats just now. Vogt did not do that. He's fallen further back, and I think he opens the door for Honeyhofer, who's coming up next. Can't fault much of the lines, Martin. The start time, though, was way off. 5:30 start time, Martin. And he was 26-26. Lochner's gone 22, 22, 22 in all 3 heats. So if you point a finger at what went wrong, something went wrong at the start. He was 3/400ths worse than he was yesterday.
So maybe they are just feeling a little nervy. No, it's great driving again from Michael Vogt. I remember Christian Wright talking about him the first time we saw him and how excited the Swiss were by this young guy. They were right to be. Now, next up is Hans-Peter Hanikhofer, the junior world champion with Christian Roeder. and he could take a medal here. It is open for the taking. He was a 10th behind Vogt overnight. What about his nerves?
I predicted yesterday that after the first run that he was going to come into a medal, and the only guy in the middle of the German sweep would be Michael Vogt, but Vogt just didn't perform. And I think Hanehofer's got a chance to sneak in here and maybe challenge Lochner too. Hanehofer had great lines. He went late, 18th sled off the hill yesterday in the first run, Martin, which was a big disadvantage.
Yeah, still 5th fastest run, 3rd fastest run in Heat 2, so we know there's the
fastest speed.
Skids.
It's going to be close. It's going to be close.
Needs to find a 10th.
That's not good. Don't think he's going to do it. He's going to be about 175, 180 back, right behind Vogt. 172.
Oh, that was okay. He found the 10th. He found the 10th. In the final couple of corners, he found the 10th he needed. They are tied going into the last run. Wow.
Advantage heading off. Right.
Well, that's how to respond to pressure, isn't it? He's trying to complete a German sweep.
Martin, this young athlete here, remember the last time we saw somebody winning the Junior World Championships and come into the competition in 2013? Some guy named Friedrich, the Junior World Champion, got the 4th spot in the field. He won that event. I think we're seeing another rising star here in the German program.
Yeah.
Doesn't get the best starts.
Get a Junior World Champion every year in the World Championships in 2-man and in 4-man. And we've seen a few come and go. Bennett Buchmuller, Christoph Hafer, of course, came in first as Junior World Champion in 2015. He didn't take the gold, and I don't think Hanehofer is, but he might get a medal. Hanehofer was 12 hundredths away from Simon Friedli, so Friedli, to stay in medal contention, needs to find a 1/4 of a second to get right in the thick of it.
28, 27, he falls off a couple hundredths. So the German athletes stayed very consistent in their start times.
Well, only Lochner, in fact. Only Lochner, because even Friedrich was a couple of hundredths back. Yeah.
Let me just say this, that the average placing per run for Friedel is 10th in the first run, 9th in the second run. He didn't do that. He did pretty good. He did better than that. Yes, both heats yesterday.
Nice run down to the
third best speed,
third best speed. Here we go.
First best speed there.
Could we have a three-way tie? He's got a lot to overcome.
No, but he's going to get closer to these two guys.
Yes, he is.
Don't knock him on it.
How close? He's in 5th, but that was a good run. He gets a couple of hundredths closer to Hanehofer, and he finds he lost 10th on his teammate.
Yeah, he lost 200 to Hanehofer. But he still has...
So we've got 14 hundredths of a second, 14 hundredths of a second covering 3 sleds going for the bronze. That is going to be a great final 5 minutes, 10 minutes of the race.
Yeah, he did a lot of things well, Martin, but of course at the start deficiency, 3rd best start. I mean, it's not that much of deficiency, but he's 8 hundredths behind at the start, 16 hundredths behind Friedel, and then the worst starter in the top 5 is Hanehofer, but he can drive.
Friedrich, Lochner, Vogt, Hanehofer, Friedli. From those 5s, the medals will come, and that means no place on the podium, surely, for this man. Last year's silver medalist, bronze medalist in Altenberg, Oskars Kiebermanis, with his regular brakeman, Mats Miknes. So Kiebermanis, 1.19 off the lead, another 4 hundredths behind Simon Friedli. Well, that he can make up. How close will he be?
Well, Martin, 5:23 start. He was in the teens yesterday. Ooh, and, you know, you can't win the event on the first day, but you can lose it. Yesterday, the 4th best time in the first run, but the 11th best time in the second run. That is not what we'd expect out of this Latvian. who won a bronze medal in this event last year on this track. So Martin did not, I'm sure that he didn't sleep well last night thinking of that 11th place finish in the second heat, probably something he hasn't done all season.
6 medals in 12 two-man races this year, none, surprisingly, on his home track in Sigulda. Not a great start to the season. Can he end it out with a World Championship medal? At the moment, he has not caught Seaman Friedley. No, the gap opens up. Well, whatever he had in the first heat, John, he doesn't have it any longer, does he?
Well, he had an 18 and a 17 start there. He just had 23. So he sort of run out of gas, you know, and then didn't drive well. And so of the top 6 athletes, this one here is not performing at the level we expected. That tap before in the labyrinths didn't help. And then that throws him into this curve. A lot of steering there to come off.
But the drive wasn't bad. You know, he was yelling at the bottom, and that didn't look like frustration with himself. So much of runner choice is guesswork based on what you think the weather's going to be like, what you think the ice is going to be like. I think they've gone the wrong way with their runners, and that may not be good news.
I don't know.
Christoph Harfer,
Martin, yesterday
right
he was
behind. Yeah. Well, Harfer, 8th fastest in both heats, 7th overnight. I think Keeper Manis's top 6 finish is there for the taking.
Ooh, watch out here. That push bar's still out. Look at how smart he was. He didn't try and put it down. If he did, he would have hit the wall. He's already got a start deficiency to work with. You know, and again, I don't know how far back we'd have to go to find a German with the 20th best start, 18th best start, and the 20 and 17 in the first 2 heats. Matthias Hofter, who's German coaching. I think Hofter was the guy who couldn't start, but boy, was he a speed merchant down the track. And so is this athlete here. Hofter has had some good World Cup medals this season. He's challenging. He's going to try and catch Keeper Manis.
Look at the lines, smooth as silk. How close does he get to Oscar's Keeper Manis? He's a 10th back.
Gets closer.
Could be 4 German sleds in the top 6 at the end of next run.
Yeah, well, he lost 500s to Keeper Manis there. He was right there.
Was 500s back, he's a 10th back. But like you say,
give him the start time that even Lochner has. Yeah, you give him Lochner's start, he's right up there in Lochner's position. He can drive. Look at the drift here. Watch him. Right here, he's gonna put the push bar down. No, I gotta wait. Okay, now I can put it down now. Pretty smart athlete there. It's not like you already have enough to worry about coming down the track. To start off the race, worried about your push bar adds to the calamity. Great respect for anybody coming off the top of this track, Martin.
Well, good first day of competition for Frenchmen Roman Heinrich and Dorian Hauteville. They were 8th fastest in the first heat, 9th fastest in the second heat, a top 8 finish. This could be a very big day for them.
You know, 17th and 15th best start times. So this should be 37, the way we're looking at things. 39, even worse. But Martin, one thing about Heinrich I like, his average placing in the first run is 11.3. His average placing in the second run is 9.6. I really like it when the drivers can come out and improve in the second run. That's what he did yesterday. Yeah. As I say that, I look, he was 8th and 9th yesterday, so he didn't improve, but pretty close to what he did.
Now he's got a good drive going here again in this third heat. 7th best speed, not the greatest. Little better coming out of the Kreisel and down in the labyrinth. This is where he was very quick yesterday again. Nice and clean over the brow past the commentary positions. He's going to hang on to this top 8 place.
25, pretty good, pretty good. 700s behind Hafner. He lost 4 more hundreds to Hafner. Lost 9 more hundreds to Kiebermanis. But, hey, top 10 finish for this French team. I think they would take it, Martin. Top 7 or 8 is probably their target.
He was 9th last year, so ahead of that is what he wants, and 8th place definitely ticks that box.
Well, this is that treacherous Omega. Then here is the graveyard section, and he gets through the graveyard without getting buried. Like we've seen so many sleds there, so many sideways.
Well, yesterday there was so much snow out by the walls as well. That slowed down lots and lots of different sleds. Our second Latvian team, Ostas Kiebermanis, Chris Lindenblat's the brakeman, a new man to the Latvian lineup this year. Oskars Kiebermanis just watching a little bit of old footage back from 2013 when Francesco Friedrich made his World Championship debut. Oskars Kiebermanis then one of the front runners.
This brakeman's a policeman up there in Latvia. You know, and again, Melbardis is the most decorated bobsledder ever. His coach, Sanders Prusis, we'll see in the winner's box, probably was, until Melbardis came along and won the Olympic gold medal. And, yeah, everybody forgets he won that bronze medal in the 2-man in Pyeongchang, Korea, with 1 bad heat, 1 bad second heat, or we might have had a 3-way tie for that gold medal.
Wow, could you imagine?
But he's got some back injuries. He's slowed down. He's a little bit elderly compared to his previous years, but Martin, he's hanging out, and watch out if he gets healthy and gets his start time back. There's Sanders Prusis, looks on.
Well, Melbardis is only 32, so he's 2 years older than Friedrich and Lochner, but as you say, that back injury kind of really cramped him going into Pyeongchang and meant that he had, basically a year and a half off after the last Olympic Games before coming back and then finally returning to the World Cup at the end of last season.
Yeah, and he's not the same guy, Martin. We know that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that little mistake there.
And you need that fitness, don't you, to
Well, he dominated the sport with the best start times all over the place. He's still got track records, I think, in Innsbruck at the start.
Yeah.
But he's probably 10 pounds heavier. He is the biggest man. He's the biggest man in the competition in the front seat. And he can still run like a deer.
10th place after the first day's action is the man who tied Francesco Friedrich for the Olympic gold medal, Justin Cripps. He's got Cam Stones behind him here, with Alex Kopacz last year set the start record at 5:11. No one's got close to that today. 5:37 for Cripps.
Wow, that's 600s off their second time yesterday. 900 slower than their first heat time. Martin, that ain't the sled. I don't know what's going on with these two, but they're both better starters than that. And, he could still move up here. Again, this is a medalist in the last 2 World Championships on this track, his home track in Whistler. So, 220, that's pretty good. He's got a chance to catch a couple people here, Martin. 7th best speed, 232. He's got a chance here to pick off Melbardis.
Pulled out the final World Cup race with a bit of a muscle strain, trying to keep himself healthy for the World Championship. So I wonder just how fit he is at the moment. 55.71, only the 10th fastest sled. Yeah, but every single sled that has come down has gone slower than the one ahead of it, with the exception of Hanekofer.
If we were at the racetrack, we'd be talking to... Yeah, Martin, we'd be talking, if we're at the racetrack, we'd be talking a lot of chalk here. A lot of things happening as predicted. Look at the line for Friedrich, Cripps. 2 great drivers here. That's a time lapse, so you can see Cripps pulling away in the Kreisel. That's the velocity. Cripps probably didn't have the speed that Friedrich does, but who does? Exit here looked a little late. Pretty good.
Yeah. Well, he'll be
He's
hoping to
looking
hang
for
on
me
to a top
right
10
now.
finish. He is in 10th place after Francesco Friedrich set an absolutely storming pace in the third of our 4 heats to extend his lead. 11th place overnight, Great Britain's Brad Hall and Greg Cackett. They get their second day of 2-man action underway. Their starts 5:29s in both heats, 5:33, again about 300 or 400s back is where everybody has been.
Yeah, you know, he's had a great year except for luck. You know, I mean, we talk about it all the time, but Cackett, you know, in the back, he's a 100-meter, 200-meter guy, 60-meter sprinter. And, you know, he's got decent starts, decent results. Not what he did the previous year, Martin, but, you know, considering what the deck of cards he's played with all year, I think he's had a pretty good year.
11th best speed. He was a 10th behind Justin Cripps overnight, looking to try and fight his way into a top 10 finish.
He's not going to catch
16th.
Cripps.
No, 16th place here in last year's Worlds, so 11th place at the line, 11th fastest run, 7th best speed at the bottom. But again, slower than the previous sled. Now, of course, you start with the fastest first and the slowest last. You expect the gaps to get bigger, but there's so little variation. Every single sled, bar one so far out of 11, has gone slower than the previous one, and that's... I wonder how much speed the track has
Nobody's
actually
moved
got
up,
in it
Martin.
today.
The only person that's moved up is Friedel, is advanced over Kiebermanis. Otherwise, everything has stayed in the same position. That's the only swap in the top 11 or 12 sleds we've seen come down so far. 11 sleds. Everything else has been pretty chalk.
Yeah, we need to take a look at the way we
This is
run
when you
World
position yourself.
Championships. The third heat should have the slowest guy going first and the fastest guy going last, I think. And that would maybe close up the field a little.
Used to be.
Well, next up is...
Used to be.
Yeah. Next up, Yoon Jung-won, 18th in the first heat. And that consigned him to a very long 4-heat race. Luckily, he turned it round in the second heat and went 6th quickest. I wonder which one of those is going to come out here.
Mark, very easy to explain there. He went 18th in the first heat, and he went about 13th in the second heat, or 3rd in the second heat. So what's going to happen? Better ice to work with, and that's why he had the 6th fastest time. He went early, probably the most accomplished driver in the back of the field, and that's why he put a great run down. Let's see what he can do here. I mean, he's already working with a start disadvantage. The 9th best start, not too bad. But 10th best speed. He's going to need to get 5th or 6th best speeds down here to have a chance, Martin, and how much of the track has got any speed left in it. Pretty good through the graveyard. He's going to be close, maybe 280, 282, 87. He lost a lot in the back. He was right there with Hackett.
Yeah.
And, or Hall and Cackett, but fell off. She's 1100s behind those guys. Now I gotta switch sheets here.
Yeah.
He lost time back. He lost 800s back to those guys.
Well, he was the first of 3 sleds. Yeah, look at that. The brakeman didn't get in. It's a change of brakeman.
No, not perfect.
Hyungwoo Jung behind him. So Hyungwoo Seo, his
regular, can't get his feet in. Look, can't get his legs in. You know, and that does. You know, the driver probably feels that behind him. You know, but again, this is the 14-15 season. The World Cup champion. Look him check the runners. That's a very experienced driver when you have the confidence to do that.
Next up, and getting away very quickly, Chris Spring and Mike Evelyn, wasting no time as soon as they get the green light. 5:33, that's only 100th off their second push.
I always talk about people too smart to be in the sport, Martin. Well, the brakeman's an electrical engineer. course, the driver, he's a pilot of this sled, but he's a pilot also now in private life. Springer, remember back to the 2011 season, horrific accident on this track. And, you know, to see him come back and win a Europa Cup race here, I think earlier in the season, a podium. You know, the demons on this track no longer exist.
Yeah, very sweet. Good
lines by the Springer.
Crew.
Yeah, this is pretty good.
This is
he's got a chance to move up here.
Yun-Jung-Won. He is going to move up too.
He does. 2 spots, and he's right behind his teammate by 1300ths. So he picked off 2 people. The first person we've seen do that since Friedel from Switzerland. So the Springer comes out and puts a heat down, tries to get himself closer to that top 10. He's only 1300ths from his teammate, who is in the 10th place, Justin Cripps. 1800ths out of 9th. Look at the runner tips check up. So Mr. Spring gives us something to talk about. It's been pretty boring so far, Martin, with any kind of movement.
He was only 100th behind Yun-Jung-Won, so the potential was always there. But right behind Spring, 100th behind Spring, is the next sled as well. So there is more potential. But Chris Spring found good speed. The first sled, in fact, that was a quicker run than his teammate. First sled in 4, who has improved. Next up is the man who was 100th behind the Springer, Marcus Treichel, with Sebastian Mitterer behind him. So Chris Spring didn't race here last year. Treichel did.
Marcus, I thought yesterday had 2 pretty good heats.
Yeah, finished 18th last year. Much fitter and a better drive to be in 13th overnight.
And you know, his average placing in the World Cup, Martin, is 16th in both runs. So for him to be in this position, you know, on a tough driver's track, I think he had 2 pretty good runs yesterday. And
maybe that's what he needed.
He puts another good one in here today. Yeah, you know, it's about personal best. You're going to come out here and say, I got to improve where I was last year. And if he comes down here in this position, he is in a chance to improve his position by a lot. Nice. 276. He's got a chance to get 1. He's right on home.
Across the line. No, doesn't get him. 100 slower, so he's now 200s behind Yun-Jung-Won.
Boy, Martin,
300s.
He lost a lot of time. He lost a lot of time on the last intermediate. I thought he had a chance. He was a 276, so he had 1100ths to come down to catch to 1. He didn't. So, you know, he's not the best starter, and we know that. But he's starting to drive the sled pretty good.
Yep.
19th and 20th best start times. Well, give him a good start, Martin. He's up there in the top 7 or 8. Because these are very good drive lines. No checking of the runners. A little tap. Second tap there was costly.
Well, off similar starts, Christoph Hafer is 7 places ahead of him, so it is possible. Next up, Rostislav Gajtukovic. And this is going to turn into, I think, a disappointing World Championships for him. After taking his first World Cup medal last week, he was hoping for big things. We were expecting him to be one of the real dark horses, but it hasn't happened.
Start times are, you know, last week he had the second best starts. Innsbruck's a flatter, you know, shorter start track, so this track does not favor his ability at the first 50 meters. And then Martin, his drive down the track, we already saw 1 real loud bang. There's a second one. You know, Martin in the normal World Cup year, he's 8th in the first run, but he has the 5th or best time in the second run. But we've seen none of the stats from the World Cup in the World Championships for this young Bobsled Federation of Russia pilot.
Well, he's still learning, isn't he? He's still learning the track, still learning how to deal with the sled. That's not going to help him move up, and that might cost him a spot. He was only 600s
Yeah,
ahead of Patrick Baumgartner. But
best
don't
time
forget,
of the run, Martin. Better time.
Last year,
300s
in
Trinkle.
Last year in two-man Sunday, he was a spectator. He crashed out in Heat 2, so already he is ahead of where he was a year ago in terms of pace, experience, and his abilities.
Martin, he caught up to Trinkle. He's only 300s behind him, even with that huge driving error they made down in the graveyard. This was pretty good. You know, the start, you know, this is where the big mistake was. He could have moved up. He could have got all the way to Juan without that mistake. Yeah. He could have moved up 2 spots, but he's positioned himself. Look how mad he is. He's positioned himself to move up in the final run.
15 sleds down and 9 to go because there is no Benny Meyer today after yesterday's crash, much as we expected. Unfortunately, now Patrick Baumgartner and Eric Fantazzini, the brakeman, new to the sport this year in the Italian crew. Baumgartner, our first youth Olympic champion back in 2012. So 5:43 the getaway, and that leaves him vulnerable to attack from behind. That's 1,200 slower than Gajdukovic, the man he's hoping to catch.
Yeah, these are pretty clean lines. The brakeman, new to the sport, Martin. He's a hammer thrower, which not a lot of them in the back seats of the men's sleds.
No.
A lot of field events. For the women, there's a lot of brakemen that are from the field events, track and field. But
yeah, quite a lot of jumpers and throwers. Absolutely.
Yeah. But here, he's got good lines, Martin. I just keep beating him up for the start time, and he's tall. He's one of the taller drivers in the front seat. The former Alpine skier. You know, I don't know how important the starts are in Alpine, but they are here in bobsled. There's Manny Mahata, former world champion in 2011, who's coach for this Italian program that's targeting 2026. And we see good improvements to the Italians in the skeleton.
That run was only 500 slower than his first heat yesterday, but second heat yesterday. I'm not sure that's enough. I think he could be caught now.
Little tap, some checking of the runners. You know, again, I think you give him a start time. Look at these lines. Remember the previous sledge sideways there. He gets good lines, Martin. And you know he's got good equipment, good runners. Simone Bertazzo right there, that's Simone?
Yeah, that's Bertazzo.
Can't tell with the mask on.
Next up, Dominik Dvorak and Jakub Nošek. The Czech Republic pair were just 300s behind Patrick Baumgartner of Italy overnight. So this is a definite move-up chance. And in fact, they were only 900s behind Rostislav Gajdukovic. And that could see them move from 17th, possibly up a couple of spots. This is probably not the World Championships that he was hoping for. Dvorak was 14th last year.
You know, and he's had some good results on this track in past World Cup. Skid there, that's a major mistake. Martin, I mean, this is how far to the Czech border? It's about 2 miles to the Czech border, maybe less.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, the crow flies, so he's had good results on this track, as the previous, you know, Czech athletes have had. But, you know, with the 12th best start time, he shouldn't be back in 17th spot, especially being third in the World Cup points for the season.
Good speed into the Kreisel, top 8 speed. Is this Dvorak moving up a gear? 3rd place in the World Cup overall standings. He's
going to catch Gallagher. He's
Yeah.
going to catch Gallagher. I don't think he's going to catch Gajdukovic. No. Yeah, he caught Gallagher.
So 12th best run,
12th
best run, yeah. So closes in on Gajdukovic, got ahead of Baumgartner. 300s behind Gajdukovic, 600s behind Marcus Treichel in 14th. So there is a final heat battle. Yeah, he could pick off a couple if he has a good final run.
Yeah, he's only 1100s out of Juan, you know, so he could pick up 3-4 spots. Look at the lines. He's got a very different line. He's holding it down, Martin. You see Friedrich's allowing the sled to go up and down with the pressure points. Friedrich might know the track a little bit better than Dvorak.
Yeah.
But
well, that's half a second quicker than his second run yesterday, where he got caught in the snow a lot down the side walls of the track. So Dvorak moves up and closer into the top 15. Lamindine, the first sled on the ice to open the World Championships. He is now in 18th place, 17th and 20th, the two runs. But 24th and 23rd fastest starts, 5:44s in each heat. James De Solo on the back of the sled.
He ran a long ways there, too far.
Yeah, he did. That might have been the full 100 meters.
Yeah, you know, Lamin's in 18th place. And in the World Cup season, Martin, his average placing in the first run was 18.3. His average placing in the second run is 18.5. So I think Lamin's doing exactly what he's done all season.
Oh, very late.
That's the latest
very
anybody's been. Watch out here. I don't think Lamin's going to set any records here, but he's trying to stay. No. He's trying to stay in 18th place, and he's falling back.
Yeah.
33.8, 3.74. Okay.
56.35. Oh, not as quick as his first heat. The last few sleds have been quicker than they were yesterday.
But that's the fastest he's been down, Martin.
Yeah.
That's the fastest he's been down in 3 heats. Don't understand it, why he gets the starts that he gets, but of course it takes 2 to push the sled. But when you got probably one of the fastest guys in this competition on the brakes, but I think the brakeman here is saying, I want to get a better start, and he runs too far, and now he doesn't get in the sled. Look at his right leg on the left side. Now he's still trying to position himself. He's kicking the driver, and his back end's not in. That's how not to do it. That's one step too far. And here, this was about a couple inches away from looking at the upside down right there. That Shodai curve is very unforgiving if you get in there too late.
Listen, just want to say hello to Anne van Nieuwenhuis. She had a trip to the hospital for an examination after yesterday's near crash. She is okay, but very beaten up, so hope she feels better soon. Mihai Centea of Romania now, 19th place, and he's a third of a second inside the top 20. He needs to get a good third run.
Yeah, his average placing is 14, and the second run 13. You know, he shouldn't be back here in 19th spot, Martin. And he had a rough second run yesterday, is my recollection.
Yeah. Well, the first run,
21st. Yeah.
Drove himself into the top 20 as Ivo de Bruin kind of slipped out, didn't he? So,
well, he almost tipped over in the
run. Yeah.
He almost tipped over in the exit of Omega. 3.35. He's doing pretty good here. I think he's going to catch Lamindine. He does.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Yes, he does.
So he moves into 18th place. Wow.
Good run for the young Romanian athlete. 17th best. That's his best run of the.
Yeah.
100th better than his first heat. So a little pressure on him. He delivers. New brakeman too today, doesn't he, Martin?
Yeah, change of brakeman. Raul Dobra on the back. Yeah. Now, in the World Cup, he had a couple of races where he was sitting in Innsbruck, and the brakeman doing a lot of work there. So. Chiprin Kipriani was in the sled yesterday.
Pretty good lines.
Raul Dobra in today. Yeah.
Little airborne though, 13 to 14. That puts a little pressure. Come out there late, but he got through the graveyard. Nice.
So he moves safer. Now then, the real danger for Lamindine, Alexei Stulnev of Russia, 20th place. Stulnev has had a very so-so season, and that's possibly being generous. Vladislav Zharovtsev behind him. 22nd in the first heat, drove himself into the race overnight. Has to hold on.
Well, he's really hasn't performed at any kind of positive level in the two-man, Martin. He's the most experienced Bobsleigh Federation Russian driver and just hasn't done it, Martin. Don't know why. Equipment. But, you know, if you look at his last season, he was way better than this, Martin.
Quarter second slower over the start than Francesco Friedrich, 200 slower than Mihai Tentea of Romania, 200s faster only. So Stulnev, I mean, from start to finish, it's not going in the right direction for Stulnev.
He's got a chance to catch Lamindine. He's got a chance.
He gets ahead of Lamindine.
55.95, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what he needed.
That's his fastest time of the 3 runs. That gives him a chance. Martin, he finished 13th in this race last year. He shouldn't be back here dealing with not making the cut. But at least give him credit. He had to pressure on him, delivered this run with the best run of the 3. You know, he's looking to try and do a personal best. He's not going to achieve that, but he's saying to himself, I want to be in the 4th run. Look at the aerodynamics of the brakeman. Very good. He was perfect there in that graveyard, Martin. That's why he passed Lamindine.
Francesco Friedrich, the leader, Justin Cripps in 10th place, and we have 20 sleds now down and done. And the final question is, who will be in the final heat? Lamindine in 20th place, Ivo de Bruin, 20th after the first heat, slipped out of the top 20 as he got passed by Tentea, and Stulnev in the second heat must fight his way back in, or this is the end of his two-man worlds.
Martin, it's all about his exit of Omega. He made a huge mistake, almost rolled into the curve. Keep our eyes on it, coming up right here. Let's watch if he hits the wall. No, much better. That was, Martin, he'd be up in 17th or 18th place if it wasn't for that.
Yeah.
Brinkman's a track and field 100-meter, 200-meter sprinter.
I think Janko in the back has done all but one of the races that Ivo has started this year. So, and that is not the way that he wanted this run to end. It was looking good till then.
Like that shot there.
Yeah.
I think he was going to catch Lamindine.
2 or 3 times, nearly comes back up on this track. That never quite does.
I mean, he finishes, but he won't make the second run, or the final run, but now we're worried about their health. And now the sled goes back. Again, why they don't put a hook on it, but you know, I've been told people get hurt doing that. If the athletes are instructed here to stay in the sled, stay in that little bathtub, that little cocoon to protect you, and now it'll come back. Now
More
watch
easily
it come back
said
to
than
this,
done.
Now it's going to come back and stop right where the sled will be exit. The medical personnel will be right there. The doctor's right there. But Martin, this is, we've seen way too many of these. This track is just,
there's Janko, the brakeman.
The brakeman, or that's Janko?
Yeah, he gets out when the sled comes to halt on the back up the track. He gets out, because
looking a little,
you know, you're crashing, rolling over at 70 miles an hour, and now they will try and get Ivo out. The doctor is right there, and the ambulance will be there in a moment.
Ivo. Great to see that, Ivo. They'll hug each other. This is the camaraderie in the sport. He's apologizing right now to his brakeman. I'm sorry I did that to you. Drivers all have concern for their teammates. They're responsible for their teammates. Great to see both of these athletes up.
These push athletes put so much trust in the driver, and the driver all the drivers feel so much responsibility. Here in the Kreisel, John, second pressure very high, and that means he's going to be late off. Tries to hold the nose
back
down.
Up again. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he comes back up. Watch him come up, then come back, and this is too late. Look at the airborne runners, and now, you know, I bet you Ivo's had this accident on this same spot before in his long decade-plus career. Look at those pictures. The sled does come back on its runners sometimes there, Martin. We've seen that, but, you know, it's the first accident we've seen. And there, too, it almost comes back on its runners. But, you know, Altenberg, you know, like the track in Darlington, that shot there I didn't like. Look at it on its edge. Yeah. You know, sometimes you tell the brakeman upper runner pressure to fight the sled coming out, but sometimes there's no chance.
And you know, you're going at such a speed, what the brakeman doesn't want to do is suddenly lurch inside the sled, even if you're trying to fight it back up. Sometimes, you know, when you roll at 70 miles an hour, yeah, you just don't get a chance.
Look, they're both handling the sled, Martin. I mean, that's...
Yeah.
Look at their...
Well, you have to walk it back down here, and then the crew have to come down.
Watch the comparison here. The last part, you know, this is the time lapse, but now watch how Friedrich is diving out of the court. Now watch the difference there is... Yeah. I mean, it's like he hit
Ivo bringing the nose down. Ivo was bringing the nose down before you get to that red flag, the flag that Harold Tudai wants tied up there so he knew where to come off the Kreisel. There is still a red flag there. It's still the same mark. And there'll be a 5-minute track hold before the next sled. So Emos Kipulis of Latvia and Junjin Suk, Evano Hanlon, the final 3 sleds to go, will all be waiting another 5 minutes. And they all know why they are waiting. And that doesn't make this track any less intimidating in their minds, does it, John? So there's another little, you know, Martin, just ratchets up the pressure.
Martin, I come from the day when you'd be at the start building, all the athletes in an enclosed room, and all of a sudden there's a couple crashes, 2 or 3 crashes in front of you on a dangerous track, and you'd all be looking at each other going, who's going to be the next one to go down? And I'm telling you now, there is some thoughts, you know, over there there are some changes of attitude with this crash, and I'm sure it's already got back up because they've seen it on the video monitors. Both athletes are not hurt. That shows you how safe they make everything in the equipment here. And they instruct these guys, if you do crash, stay in the sled.
Well, there you can see our Romanian team going back to the top of the track. Their sled and the Russian sled, or BFR sled, on the trucks. They'll be taken up as well. And the team from the Netherlands will be taking the scabbards that the runners go in for carrying the sled. They'll take them down to the bottom from the finish dock to be able to rescue the vehicle there. Well, there you get a great view of snowy Altenberg. I mean, it's a deep winter storm yesterday and the night before overnight. Really a huge amount of snow falling. And we get ready to get our World Championships back underway here. Emils Kapulis of Latvia with Anis Bebris, his brakeman. Kapulis, perhaps a surprise addition to the Latvian crew as their 3rd sled. Was really expecting it to be Ralf Bērziņš, who's had 3 World Cup seasons now. Bērziņš missing from the last 2 or 3 World Cup races because he was here in Altenberg getting paid training. But for reasons that we actually yet haven't found out, we don't know why. I have to assume that Bērziņš is not healthy to compete. But that is just a guess rather than information. So Kipulis, 25 years old, first World Championships for him and for his 24-year-old brakeman. And Anis Bebris, not the shortest guy either. Kipulis is a relatively tall slider. He's about 6 foot. Brakeman, probably 6'3", 6'4".
Brakeman's got a little motocross background, Martin.
Yeah.
He did amateur level motocross for 8 years. Big man, look at him get in the sled. Great technique. Not a bad start. I mean, 37. There's some people with those starts in the top 10. but again, it's his first world championship, you know, and he's got some people above him, and Delbardis and Kibermanis, and he's got great coaching, great equipment. This small nation Latvia just keep pushing out these great athletes. But his start time, 13th and 15th, is something he's going to have to improve on. But he doesn't have the monsters and the other Latvian sleds that they have in their team. 428, so I don't see him moving up here at all. So this is for the top 20, so Lamindine's safe for one more sled.
Yep.
Doing down, he completed. He's, you know, there's Giannis Sadis-Prusus looking at his young pilot, his first world championships. He completed without a start or a crash mishap, and he can look back on this and know next year I'm going to make the cut.
Yeah, definitely. Next year he'll be another whole season more experienced, or whatever season we get next year. And actually, in terms of starts, well, in the top 10, Hafer and Heinrich are both starting a little slower than this duo, so it's not a top 3 start, but it is respectable enough to give him something to work with and a bit more experience. Yeah, could be interesting to see what he does next year.
Perfect aerodynamic profile, great aerodynamic profile from the brakeman, you know, good equipment, great coaching, you know, and it's a sled from Latvia. So, small nation knows how to. Small nation is really good in the sliding sports.
And he's not their only rookie as well. Davis Springus, a former brakeman, made his World Cup debut this year as well in Sigulda, as did Kipulis. Well, next up, and definitely not a rookie, Yunjin Suk for Korea. Well, Suk, the third of our starters in the first heat. Didn't compete in last year's World Championships here. His best result, 18th in Whistler 2019.
Well, Martin, he's very consistent. He's the 23rd sled down. He has the 23rd best start. But he does have the tallest brakeman on board. And at this pace, Lamindine, you should go to the top. Because you will
he'll be the
first sled
he'll be
down
going anyway,
and
and expecting to go, so 14th best speed. Good run from Suk, but dug his own hole, I'm afraid, in the first day. 24th and 23rd fastest runs. At the moment,
he dug his, watch out, watch out. Martin, he dug his hole in the first 50 meters to start.
Yeah.
Get no chance with that start time. 20th best time of the run, that's something positive. That's his best run, 56.25, that's the fastest. He's been down in all 3 heats. He would have done that in the previous 2 heats. He might be looking at a 4th run.
He'll end up 1800s behind Emils Kipulis. It's only his 3rd World Championships driving. He did start in Sam Ritz as a brakeman.
Looks like he got in there too much steering to come out flat like that, but good lines. Can't fault what he just did, Martin. He just drove down the fastest of his 3 heats.
Yep. Well, that's the end of his World Championships, and our final sled will be Australia's Evan O'Hanlon. Dylan Sorensen on the back handles. That's a change from yesterday when Joe Williamson was on the back. So the story here, Evan O'Hanlon, a multiple Paralympic champion, 500-meter gold medals, or 5 gold medals in Paralympic Games over a couple of games, multiple World Championships as well. And he's trying to become the first Paralympian to convert from summer to winter and from the Para Games to the Olympic Games. And this is the first big step on that ladder, his first ever Winter World Championships.
Brakeman's athletics, track and field guy, surf life-saving, and he's a weightlifter. So,
well,
diversity.
You say surf life-saving, nobody outside of Australia or who hasn't been to Australia has any idea what that is, but that is a huge sport in Australia.
Well, there's a lot of people would like to go down and check that out, Martin.
Yeah. Oh, man, it's phenomenal to see. Yeah.
just to see him
Track's a
get
little
down.
different.
This is awesome achievement. If they give away the Sportsman Award, give it to this guy right here. Pretty impressive what he's done. Obviously a very driven athlete, Martin, for him to cross over from summer sport to here. I'm giving him applause right now. For me, that's pretty impressive.
A huge competitor as well. He was beaten to the gold in Rio and came back the next year to win the World Championships in 2017. So he knows how to compete. He does not have any idea
Martin, look at his
how to give up. Yeah. Got his foot
this
caught.
Is Altenberg. This is not Innsbruck. This is awesome for this guy to come out here and, you know, was a man against the mountain sports, the way the sport used to be, and he just, you know, Altenberg didn't get him. He completed the World Championships, all 3 runs he got down safely, and again, hats off to these guys from down under.
32 years old, and his attempt is to get to Beijing. May well be around for Milan Cortina as well. I'm not quite sure what else he'll be doing. Lives just over the border, not far away, in the Czech Republic with his former Olympian athlete wife and his 2 young kids. Well, that completes the 3rd heat and the World Championships for 5 of our sleds. For the remaining 20, 1 more run. And for Francesco Friedrich, with Alexander Schuller behind him, unless he crashes, gold and a 7th 2-man World Championship title are his for the taking. Friedrich has a phenomenal advantage, 1.5 seconds, give or take, ahead of Johannes Lochner. And then the battle for 3rd, Vogt and Hadikhofer tied. Friedli, maybe, if he performs an otherworldly final run, has a shot. Then behind them, everybody else will be hoping to jockey for position. And down at the bottom, Mihai Tentea up to 18th, Alexis Stulnev up to 19th, but Lamindine hangs on in the top 20. As in our first heat, so in our final. The 39-year-old guardsman will be the first man out of the start shed. Emils Kapoulis, Yunjin Suk, Ivo de Bruyne, Evan O'Hanlon and Benny Meyer and their crews will be the only spectators. Join us for the final heat. From John Morgan, me, Martin Haven and the IBSF TV crew, don't go anywhere. We will be back in just under half an hour to see who wins the World Championship.